Ready to level up your author career? Join us at Author Nation in Las Vegas, November 11th through the 15th. Network with your fellow indie authors, learn from industry experts, and discover the tools to boost your writing business. Reserve your spot today at authornation.live. See you in Vegas.
Ever get that feeling? You know, like staring at a blank page, the cursor blinking, and your brain's just dot blank.
Oh, tell me about it. Writer's block is the worst.
It really is, especially when deadlines loom and inspiration decides to take a vacation. But hey, what if we could use, say, sound to unlock our creativity?
Ooh, now that's intriguing.
Right. That's what today's deep dive is all about. We're taking a deep dive into this app called Brain.fm. It claims to boost creativity for writers using sound.
I've heard of it. Is it legit, though?
That's what we're here to find out. Our source is this cool article from Indie Author magazine by Chelle Honiker. She talks about how authors can tap into this thing called a flow state to become more creative.
Flow state, that's when you're like totally in the zone, right?
Exactly. And apparently Brain.fm might be able to help us get there.
Yeah.
But to really break down the science of it all, I've got our resident brain expert with us today.
Happy to be here. I'm always up for a good brainwave discussion.
I bet. So Brain.fm, for those who haven't heard of it, what is it exactly? Like in a nutshell.
Well, it's an app basically plays different channels of background noise designed to, well, influence your brain.
Okay, so like focus sounds, relaxing sounds, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. The idea is that these sounds can actually tap into your brainwave patterns and kind of nudge them in a certain direction.
Whoa, really? It sounds kind of out there. Like brainwave entrainment and all that.
Yeah, that's the term they use. It might sound a little woo-woo, but there's actually some science behind it. So your brain is constantly producing these electrical signals called brainwaves, right?
Okay, yeah. I remember learning about that back in like high school biology or something.
Right. So different brainwaves are associated with different mental states. Like alpha waves are associated with relaxation, beta waves with focus, things like that.
So Brain.fm is trying to like manipulate those brainwaves with sound to make us more creative.
It's not so much manipulation as it is gentle guidance. Like think of it this way. Your brain has a natural rhythm, and Brain.fm is kind of like adjusting the tempo of that rhythm using sound.
Interesting analogy. So Honiker in her article talks about this thing called active brain state modulation. Sounds intense. What's that all about?
It sounds more complicated than it is, honestly. Basically, it just means we're actively trying to influence the patterns of activity in our brains, which honestly we do all the time, right? Like every time you drink coffee to wake up or meditate to relax, you're engaging in a form of active brain state modulation.
Oh, okay. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Right. So Brain.fm is just using sound as a tool to achieve a specific brain state in this case, one that's conducive to creativity.
This is pretty mind-blowing stuff, but is this just a fancy way of saying it's using binaural beats? I feel like those have been around forever.
Ah, yes, the good old binaural beats. They are similar in a way, both use sound to influence brainwaves, but Brain.fm actually claims to go beyond the limitations of binaural beats.
How so? I'll admit I don't know much about them.
Well, binaural beats are created by playing slightly different frequencies in each ear, which then creates this illusion of a third beat in your brain. It's cool in theory, but the science behind it, especially for things like focus and creativity, is actually pretty weak.
Interesting. So Brain.fm is claiming to be like scientifically superior to just your average binaural beats track.
Well, they certainly market themselves as being backed by more robust research.
Okay, so Honiker mentions these studies, right? Like there's actually research to support their claims.
There are studies, yes, which is always a good sign. But like with anything, it's important to look at the quality of the research and not just take it at face value.
You've got to be able to trust the source, for sure.
Absolutely. And to be fair, the field of brainwave entrainment is still relatively new. There's definitely a lot more research to be done, but some promising studies suggest that Brain.fm might have a positive impact on things like focus, relaxation, and yes, even creativity.
Like what? What kind of positive impact are we talking about?
Well, for example, one study found that writers who used Brain.fm saw a significant increase in the number of words they could write during a timed writing session, something like a 20% increase.
Whoa, hold on, 20%. That's huge. For writers who are constantly battling deadlines, that could be a game changer.
Right. Now, this doesn't mean Brain.fm is like a magic creativity tool or anything. Everyone's brain is different. What works for one person might not work for another.
For sure. It's like some people swear by coffee to get those creative juices flowing, others not so much.
Exactly. It's all about finding what works best for you. But I mean, a 20% increase in output is definitely nothing to sneeze at.
Not at all. So I have to ask, have you ever tried brain.fm or anything similar?
You know, I actually have. I was a bit skeptical at first, but I figured, why not give it a shot?
Right. The scientist in you has to experiment.
Exactly. And to be honest, I have noticed a difference, particularly when I'm working on research papers, which often require like hours of deep focus.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's like brain.fm helps me get into that groove faster and stay there longer. Now, is it purely because of the sound frequencies? Or is there a placebo effect at play? Who knows? But it's been positive enough that I still use it.
That's so fascinating. I have to admit, this is making me rethink my whole creative process. Beyond just writing even. Like, what if this could be used for problem solving or learning a new language or even like athletic performance?
Right. The possibilities are pretty much endless. It's like imagine harnessing the power of sound to unlock all these different aspects of our cognitive potential.
It's mind-blowing, honestly.
Okay.
Well, on that note, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about. Big thanks to our brain expert for diving into this with me.
My pleasure. Always happy to chat about the brain.
And for all you listeners out there, if this deep dive into brain.fm piqued your interest, give it a shot. It just might be that missing piece in your creative puzzle. Until next time, happy writing and keep exploring.